Welcome to today's episode of Ghost Tales, where we have a fun discussion about the spooky paranormal experiences and things that people have seen or heard, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And today with me is Maddy Laing. She's come back again. Before we were talking about the Thorogood House, and now we've got a new topic. We're talking about pirates today, which is going to be so much fun. And you are program and events coordinator with Virginia Beach History Museums, so you know a lot about a lot of different areas around Hampton Roads.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. Really a pleasure to be here. Yeah, we do lots of different history, all things related to, of course, colonial history and 18th century, and then, of course, our ghost stories in the fall. And we really enjoy it. And we have even a whole pirate tour. And the next one will be August 21st. It's free to the public. It's 5:30 to 7 o'clock. And you can find those on our website as well.
Awesome. And remind us what the website is?
Yeah, so it's if you search VB Museums, I believe it's vbmuseums.org, or if you search Virginia Beach History Museum, should be the first one that comes up.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And so today we're talking about, oh my gosh, so many fun things. We're talking about Blackbeard. We're talking about pirates. We're talking about this whole area because, I mean, pirates, they were very prevalent in our area of Hampton Roads just because of so many ships going by on the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean and everything. So get us started. Talk about, first of all, what do we have here on our desk here? You brought us some props.
I did. I brought some fun things. So we have a compass here, of course. And of course, we know you couldn't sail without a compass in the 18th century, no GPS, anything like that, right? So this was really something that they would have used to find their way and navigate as well. And then, of course, we've got our lovely tricorn. I don't know if Ashley wants to model it a little bit.
I'm not sure if it'll fit over the...
Yeah, right.
Nope, but we can pretend.
There you go. You get the idea. But that was the height of fashion, of course.
Yes.
In,
1700. Is there a certain way of wearing it?
Yeah, you just want to have one of the points in the front.
Uh-huh.
Just like that.
Just like this.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So for your Halloween outfit,
yes,
remember the tricorn.
Yes,
point
if you're
goes
doing
in.
an accurate pirate, you need a tricorn, of course.
You can hit other people. Very pointy.
Yeah, and then we have our treasure box, and it's kind of just a funny joke, but of course, pirate's booty and our treasure. But yes, all of these are fun props we use at our Pirates tour, so I thought it'd be cool to show them off today.
Love it.
And we have some more, of course, true historical facts to share as well.
We've got some real things to talk about now. So talk about, there was a pirate that the Thorogoods, I know you were on last time talking about the Thorogood House, and it just kind of continues on into this episode. Talk about who the Thorogoods knew.
Yeah, of course. So we have our golden age of piracy from the 1660s all the way up until 1740, when it sort of was put to an end just due to more presence of the British Navy, those sorts of things. And they would have been plundering anything like tobacco, spices, weapons, alcohol, even enslaved people, because that was property at the time and quite valuable. But here in Princess Anne County, which is now Virginia Beach, we actually had some pirate encounters as well. So we had, let me find it here. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we had a Louis guitar.
Oh, Louis Guitar?
Mm-hmm. He was a French pirate, and his ship was called the La Paix, which actually weirdly translates to peace, but they were pirates, and they were plundering all around this area right off the coast of Princess Anne County in the Chesapeake Bay, sort of over by, I believe, the Cape Henry area as well. So it ended up being dispatched, so May 3rd in 1700, Sheriff John Thorogood and his brother Adam, and they were actually uncles to Argyle Thorogood, who built the Thorogood House, and they were both serving as burgesses at the time, so Virginia lawmakers were tasked with catching these ships, and Governor Nicholas informed the captain of the HMS Shoreham to be sent down James River towards Lynnhaven Bay. Eventually, there was a small skirmish, and the La Paix, the pirate ship, ended up with its mast broken, unable to sail anymore, so they captured those pirates. But 3 pirates were left on shore, so they sent the La Paix back to England to be tried with Louis Guitar on board, of course. But those 3 pirates remained here. 2 of them allegedly slept through the whole battle, and they were caught afterwards by the Thorogoods and eventually tried and found guilty of piracy, so they were hanged as well. A third was claimed he was a prisoner of the pirates, and he escaped and swam ashore. that sort of thing. So the Thorogoods kept piracy out of Virginia Beach for at least during 1700. So that's a fun Thorogood connection that we have there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where are they most prevalent in on the Outer Banks?
Yes,
The
Outer Banks
pirates?
was a big source of pirate activity, but they went all the way up as far as Delaware Bay sometimes in that area.
Okay.
Blackbeard was all up and down the East Coast. North Carolina had a lot of piracy because of course they're going back and forth wherever there's really things for them to plunder and those sorts of things.
Gotcha. Yeah. And what were they looking for specifically? Just money, jewelry, anything
Anything
they could
valuable,
take?
like I said, like tobacco, alcohol, even enslaved people that they could sell down in the Caribbean or in the colonies, anything that was of value, or just sometimes, I think sometimes just looking to cause mischief and things. So definitely anything that they deemed that was worth their time or of value.
And you said this fellow was cousins. They were cousins to
They were
Adam
uncles.
Thurgood? Uncles.
Uncles to Argo Thorogood, who built the house. So related to Adam, but Adam came prior to them.
Okay. And they
Yeah.
were sheriffs.
Yeah, they were sheriffs.
So it was their job to go out and kind of prevent.
Exactly.
So do you know if they kind of patrolled the area, or were they just called out when there was a sighting, or?
I imagine probably a bit of both. They were tasked by the governor to go out and take care of these things, and the Burgesses would have been more local, so just tasked with things that came up, criminal activity, to go and get them. But it's just a cool connection that we have, kind of a
Yeah.
fun story.
That is really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to pause for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the possibility that William and Mary was actually funded by pirates. So we're going to have that when we come back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Ghost Tales. We've got Maddy Laing with us talking about pirates. We have got such a rich pirate history here along our coasts and Hampton Roads, and well, not in our part, not in Norfolk area in Virginia Beach, because we had such wonderful sheriffs to keep them out for us.
Yeah, they did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. I'll say lots of swashbuckling.
Yes.
Yes. Well, actually, we don't know if did they carry swords? Did they fight them with swords, or did they have like an army going out? Or
They
how did
probably had some form
exactly-
of militia, if I had to make an educated guess. And probably definitely some pistols and some muskets, but maybe not swords.
Gotcha. We can romanticize
Yeah.
them. All right. So let's talk about William and Mary possibly being funded by pirates. Tell me about this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this story because, of course, that's my alma mater. So
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is kind of a fun story. Love William and Mary. So we had a pirate named Edward Davis, and they decided, him and his crew decided, we're kind of done with pirating now. We think that we would like to retire. And so King James offered amnesty to pirates around the 1680s. And so they thought, what a great idea. We'll just retire. We're kind of done. We'd like to settle down. But unfortunately, as they set off sail from the coast of South America, they were plundering down there near Central and South America. They were actually caught by the British Navy before they got back to England. So they were detained for piracy. And they, of course, had tons of money on board, which they claimed they got from trading with the Spanish, but that was not the case.
So they were plundering on their way to being forgiven,
Yeah, they were kind of like,
And
we're
retiring.
done and we're going to go. But then before
but we're going to
they-
go out with a bang.
Yes, before they could get to England, they were caught.
Okay.
Of course, with all of their money. And so it didn't, one of their gentlemen, one of the crew members couldn't really keep his story straight. The other guy completely sold them out. They got taken prisoner by the British Army, but they did appeal to the king, and King James did pardon them. However, was declared that they do need to go back to the court in England, and they need to pay some form of restitution and donate some of their money to charity work. And at the same time in 1689, James Blair, who actually chartered William and Mary, was seeking funding to found a college in the colonies in Virginia. And so they decided, and Blair was able to convince the courts that his case was the best cause for the pirates to pay their restitution to. And they ended up paying about £300 to Mr. Blair, which is equivalent to about £1 million today.
Wow.
So sort of William and Mary, sort of funded by pirates.
Wow.
And
So
then,
William and
yeah.
Mary's first million.
Yeah,
We
their
don't know
first
that.
donation, their fundraising.
In the ledger book, we'll have,
Yeah.
1 million pirates.
So that's kind of fun. So maybe
Yeah.
there's some pirate ghosts up there. I don't know, but yeah, that's a fun story, and I thought that was great to share, especially because we have lots of William and Mary alums in the area,
Yes.
myself included. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful cottage or campus
Yes,
as well.
I miss it. It's really beautiful, and of course they have lots of their own ghost stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. And so talk a little bit about moving into Blackbeard now, the most famous pirate
Yes.
who has graced our shores. Talk a little bit about his history mostly in the Outer Banks. You said North
Yeah,
Carolina coast.
kind of all around. He was definitely very prevalent at the time. So he was born in about 1680. His legal name was Edward Thatch or Teach. Most people say Thatch, but it's spelled like Teach. And he actually was born at the time that Princess Anne or Queen Anne took the throne, and he fought in the Queen Anne's War as well as a soldier, and then eventually got into pirating later. And the difference between doing privateering and privateers were licensed by their countries to go and plunder other countries' ships, so sort of disrupt the other countries and kind of
But for the good of our country.
Yeah, but it was legal
Yeah.
because they had a piece of paper.
Right.
But pirates just did it, and it was not legal because they were not authorized to do so. So there was some difference there. So a lot of privateers turned pirate, just because of that legality sense. So
Like,
they were
hey, we're good at this.
Yeah.
Let's keep on doing it, but let's be the
maybe
benefactors.
for their own benefit instead
Yes.
of their country, but yeah. And so he became one of the most notorious pirates up and down the East Coast, and as well as in the Caribbean. But he was known because of his big black beard that he grew out, and he had some sort of crazy tendencies. Like there's stories of him firing at his crew in the dark, just to keep them on their toes. And he was known to do some crazy things. Like I have some pictures of him here, and he would put fuses in his beard. I don't know if you can see that. Like quite intense. Like if you saw this guy coming on your ship, you would be like, I don't want to deal with that. And then
crazy.
it's another great one.
Talk
of
about a
him.
toxic work environment.
Yeah. So quite intense, really intense. But yeah. So
That is insane.
eventually he was becoming quite the problem. So he was all around North Carolina, and some even thought that he had the North Carolina governor in his pocket just because of how much he was bullying North Carolina. So people in North Carolina did not feel safe with him all around, and the governor just letting him do whatever he wanted. So they actually appealed to Governor Spotswood here in Virginia, and he put a £100 bounty on Blackbeard's head, as well as 20 for each officer's head and 10 for every other pirate of his crew captured or killed.
Wow.
So
Okay,
yes.
hold on just a second. We're going to pause right there for
Okay.
another commercial break. We'll continue talking about Blackbeard and the crazy lore surrounding his death coming up when we come back. And we are back again with Maddy Laing talking about pirates this time, talking about Blackbeard and how William and Mary was supposedly partially funded by pirate treasure, so to speak, about $1 million worth.
Yeah, in
Is that what
today's
it was?
money, so £300 then, and 1689 is $1 million today. So.
Crazy. Okay, so talk a little bit more about. I'm so sorry I interrupted you. Talking about Blackbeard,
Yes.
and his tendencies.
Yeah, of course. So, of course, we were talking about Virginia, Governor Spotswood, beloved governor in the colonial days, putting a bounty out on Blackbeard, for £100 for his head, and then £20 for each officer, and 10 for every pirate that was killed or captured with him. So, of course, in the late months of 1718, Thatch was found, or Blackbeard was found to be pillaging at least 4 ships between Cape Charles and the Bay of Delaware. And then they were stealing all kinds of items, including wine, jewels, enslaved people, all those sorts of things. And so Lieutenant Maynard was dispatched to find him and apprehend him. And he was able to successfully take down Blackbeard after, of course, they had a fierce duel on one of the decks of the ship as well. And then what happens after Maynard defeats Blackbeard is they take a large spike and they put his head on top of the spike.
That's
And
crazy.
for a time, it was outside of the Chesapeake Bay as a warning to other pirates, like, this is Blackbeard, this is what we did to him, so your fate will probably be the same. And then they sailed back to Hampton. So we believe it's likely that that head on a spike passed by the side of the Thorogood house, and definitely by shore drive where Adam Thorogood's house was. So it's possible some of our Thorogoods could have seen it. By 1718, Argyle and Susanna were in the process of building the house that's there now. So perhaps they would have seen it sail by. They certainly would have heard about Blackbeard's death and at that time.
Yes.
And then much of his crew that was still alive was tried and hanged in Williamsburg, just up the road from here.
Gotcha. So
quite
when we
intense.
watch Pirates of the Caribbean and we see the heads hanging,
Yes.
pirates, you be warned.
Yeah.
That
They
was
did
probably
yeah,
true.
They did do things like that to
Yeah.
discourage piracy because it was a real problem threatening lots of especially the English. So they're trying to keep their best interest in mind as well as try to keep people safe as well, because they were sort of plundering people's goods and disrupting trade and
Right.
all those kinds of things.
Ne'er-do-wells.
Yes.
So talk about the lore surrounding his death when the moment he was killed. Talk about what's been probably built up over the years as it's been told over and over. But what is
Yeah,
what is
lots
the
of
story as we
tales.
know it?
So there is some alleged tales that once they chopped his head off during that fight, Lieutenant Maynard, there's some lore about his body ran around like a chicken. You know, when you cut a chicken's head off and it still moves, like that's how the lore of him being so intense and so over the top, that sort of kind of remained even after his death, that his body ran around the deck for like 20 minutes or something. So there's probably some truth in that, like maybe a few seconds.
He was
but
twitching a little
feels
bit.
a bit ridiculous. Yeah, definitely very gruesome.
Yes.
And then of course lots of tales of Blackbeard's spirit still haunting, Lynnhaven Bay or even in Hampton. And then Williamsburg has their own stories about Blackbeard's pirates that were jailed there and then eventually hanged, of course, as well.
Okay. And those spirits are seen around campus, or
Yeah, they do like they have their own folklore about just that they were jailed there on site and then hanged in the capital as well. So some unrestful spirits of pirates that are angry that they were caught, perhaps, or things like that.
yeah, that's crazy. Okay, and talk about we've got some female pirates as well,
so
not
I'm
just
excited
for
to talk about
men.
them. So they weren't here in Virginia or really anywhere close to us, unfortunately, but they were very active in the Caribbean, and their names were Anne Bonny and Mary Reed. So I have a picture here. I don't know if you can see it.
There we go.
So this is them. But they dressed as men to get on board and participate in battles and things like that. So Mary Reed started at a young age to join as a sailor, disguise herself as a man, and then Anne Bonny did it much later. Most of the crew knew she was a lady, but when she fought, she would dress like a man. Unfortunately, they were both caught alongside Calico Jack, who Anne Bonny was in a relationship, some sort of entanglement with him, and they sailed around together. And Calico Jack was hanged immediately, but Anne and Mary actually pleaded that they were with child, and so then they were spared. They weren't hanged, but Mary did die in jail a few months after that, but then Anne Bonny was eventually released.
Wow.
We don't know much about what happened to her after she left the prison there, but
And where were they jailed?
down somewhere in the Caribbean. I don't know exactly where, but yeah, where they were caught, because that's mostly where most of their pirating was, down there.
Yeah, that's so neat.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is such a cool history of all of this going on, and I'm sure the Outer Banks is just full of places you can go to kind of see where these pirates were, where they may have plundered, where they have done their business and all that. Talk a little bit about y'all's pirate tours that you've got.
Yes, so we have our focus tours at Thorogood every Thursday throughout the summer all the way until September.
Okay, is that just a summer thing?
Yeah, we do it from about June until September, and it's every Thursday. They're from 5:30 to 7, and they are totally free to the public. And we have one just dedicated solely to pirates. So if you like these stories and you want even more pirate stories, and we also encourage people to dress like a pirate as well.
Oh, how fun.
The next one is August 21st, and that's at the Thorogood House. So definitely come and dress up if you're around, if you're in Virginia Beach area. You can find reservations on our website. It's just vbmuseums.org. or if you search Virginia Beach History Museums, we have Instagram, Facebook, all those things. So,
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah.
And do people come dressed up as
They
pirates?
do. It's
Yeah.
really fun. I love seeing like the whole family get dressed up. It's really
Oh,
great. And some of
neat.
our staff dress up too, as like they have a little, they throw the tricorn on, and
Yeah.
sometimes we do costumes, but sometimes in the summer we opt not to because it's quite hot.
It's just too hot.
Yeah. But we do
course, the
encourage to
summer.
dress up. It's much more fun that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the pirate tour?
I'm partial to Anne Bonny and Mary Read just because they're so cool. But yeah, I also really love the Thorogood story too. That one's
Yeah.
really fun because it has a direct connection.
Right.
And then there's a couple other stories I didn't talk about that you can hear, and there's
Yes.
crafts and all those kinds of things too.
So more incentive to go check out the pirate tour. And you said the next one is August 21st?
Yes, from
Okay.
5:30 to 7 o'clock.
Gotcha. 5:30 to 7. Okay. At night. Obviously. Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us, Maddy, and talking about pirates. And we've had so much fun talking about these things. And we love having you on every time, talking about Thurgood House and now the pirates and everything. So we hope to have you back on talking about more fun stuff. Maybe more about witches next time.
Yeah, I would
talking
love
about
to.
that. Yeah. So it'll be lots of fun. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll scare up another spooky story for you next time. Thanks for joining us on Ghost Tales.